All right, this is part B of worksheet 5. So on these, we now have variables, so we just have to watch. It's going to be the same, except when we add and subtract, we can only combine like terms. We can only add and subtract terms with the same variables. So inside the parentheses, we do have parentheses, but there's nothing we can simplify in here because those are different variables. No exponents, so we're going to start with multiplication. All right, so to multiply 2 times this, we have to use the distributive property. So 2 times negative 3x is negative 6x, and 2 times 4 is 8. And we don't multiply this because it's not in the parentheses, so we're just going to write that down. All right, so that was multiplication and division. There's no other multiplication or division, so we're going to add and subtract. But when we have variables, that's combining like terms. Still just adding and subtracting, but you can only do like terms. So we're going to look for, with our x, is there any other x's? Yes, and remember that negative comes with it. So we're going to add those. So negative 6 plus negative 3 is negative 9x. And then just write everything else down. If it helps you, you can cross those out. Sometimes helps me. And there's nothing else we can add because these are x's and these are 1's. So that is our simplified answer. All right, so on this one, it's the same thing. We have distributive property. But actually, before that, we could do that. It wouldn't be bad. But we can simplify what's in here first. So we have x here and x here, so we can simplify that. We can add that with that. So we have 4, 1x plus 2x is 3x minus 3. And just write everything else down. Then we use multiplication division, so distributive property is multiplication. So multiply that times that and that times that. So 4 times 3 is 12x. Remember, this is negative, so 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Just write everything else down. No more multiplication or division, so we're going to add and subtract, but that's combining like terms when we have variables. So we have 12x. Is there any other x's? Yes, 3x. So we're going to have 15x. You can cross those out if that helps you. And write everything else down. Can't combine that with that, so we're done with this problem. Remember, as you're doing these, remember I'm not giving any credit unless you show all the work, so just writing the answer won't cut it. All right, so let's take a look at number 9. So there's parentheses, and there is something we can simplify here, so that's good. So we have 3 plus negative 4, or 3 minus 4. So 3 plus negative 4 is negative 1. So we have 2x times negative 1. And we just write everything else down. And we're going to do our multiplication. So 2x times negative 1, so it's 2 times negative 1 is negative 2x plus 2x minus 2x. No more multiplication or division, so we're going to add and subtract, but that's combining like terms. So I can do all 3 of them at once if I can do that in my head. If not, I can just do 2 of them, but I could add all 3 of those. Well, let's just do one step at a time like we've been doing. So negative 2 plus 2 is 0. Those are 0 pairs, right? So we're just left with negative 2x. All right, number 10. So we do have parentheses, but we can't simplify anything in here. And we can't simplify anything in here, so that's all we can do with the parentheses. So multiplication and division, so we're going to use distributive property. We'll do this one first. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6x. And x times an x is an x squared. So negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12x. And we just write everything else down. We'll go here, next multiplication from right to left is going to be this distributive property. So we just write everything else down. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. No more multiplication or division, so can I add anything to this x squared? No. So I'm just going to write that down. Can I add anything to this x? Yes. 12x and 2x. And it's okay if you want to do the whole combining like term step in one row here. That's fine. You don't have to do each row on those. All right, so the 12x plus 2x is 14x. Cross them out if that helps you. Cross that out because we wrote that. And we're left with just plus 6. And that's all of our combining like term step. All right, so number 11. All right, this one's a tiny bit tricky. So we have parentheses, but what's inside of it is already simplified, so we can't do anything. So we're going to do multiplication and division. So what we're going to do is this distributive, but you have to remember that this negative in front comes with the 3. So we have 2x plus x squared. And negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Don't forget to bring that negative with it. All right, so that's all of our multiplication and division. So we're going to combine like terms. I usually start with the x squared. You can go from left to right, but I usually try to do the biggest one first. So x squared, is there anything else with that x squared? No, so I'm just going to write my x squared. Then 2x, anything I can put with that? Yes, negative 3x. So 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1x, or just negative x. Cross those out, that helps me, and plus 9. All right, one more. All right, so there are parentheses, but what's inside the parentheses is already simplified. I can't add that to that. So I'm going to do multiply and divide. So the first multiply and divide I see is this distributive property. So x squared. 2 times 3 is 6. And x times x is x squared. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. But there's an x. Just write everything else down. No more multiply or divide, so we're going to combine like terms. So we're going to start with our x squared. Remember, that's the same as add and subtract on PEMDAS. So 1x squared plus 6x squared is 7x squared. Cross those out if that helps me. Anything I can add to that? Nope. So I'm just going to write it down. Minus 8x. Anything I can add to that? Nope. So I just write it down. And that's my final simplified expression. All right, so now on this worksheet, this is the first one that we have this, I think. You're going to have these a lot throughout the year. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to do in writing, in words. You need to explain to me how you did one of those problems. So if you're going to do problem 5, tell me what number you're doing. And then in writing, with at least 25 words, it may be more than that, but at least 25 words, explain to me how we worked that problem. What did we do? Just look back up at it and explain to me in writing. If you have a hard time with this at first, please get with me, and we can do it verbally, and we can talk about it. But we're going to do a lot of this year because being able to explain it shows me better if you understand it. Plus, figuring out how to explain it will actually help you learn it better as well. All right.